That's 23 here in today's Knife Therapy. We have the Jack Wolf knives, a low drag jack. And depending on when you're watching this, these are available right now. Sorry, this came out a little bit later than I wanted to, but let's get into it. This one came in 5 different variations, and he went with 4 carbon fibers this time. The one I have right here is in the 80s camo carbon. Very, very beautiful stuff here. And it also comes in jungle wear fat carbon, which is a pretty good looking material if you like green. It has, they have the dark matter yellow fat carbon. The next one is the Miami camo carbon and one black canvas micarta. The canvas micarta is going to cost you $275 and the carbon fiber ones are going to cost you $300. So yes, these are premium slip joints. If that's not your thing, this video is probably not going to be for you. Let's get some quick specs out of the way. You have a total length of 6.7 inches, so it's a smaller to medium sized knife. Blade length of 2.8 inches. A grip area all the way up here to the back of 3.9 inches. Handle scale thickness of 0.46 inches. And the closed width in the pocket or in the slip is 1.02 inches. Blade stock thickness on this one is 0.12 inches, and the behind the edge thickness is around 14 thousandths, sharpened at 22 degrees per side. So what we have here is a bullet end pattern or a teardrop pattern. It's not my thing particularly with the blade shape, but I did enjoy using this one. You have this drop point with a very deep belly. Now, one thing about a deep belly like this, especially since it's pointed in the downward position, you're going to trap material right here, and it's going to act as a recurve. So whenever you're slicing into something, you can see that belly is going to get deeper and deeper to what you're cutting. So it definitely functions very nicely. You have a nice belt satin finish there. Swedge that goes all the way down to the tip from here and gives you a very, very fine point for piercing and doing, drag cuts and stuff like that. Works excellent for that. You have a half moon nail nick on this side, not on this side. You have Stonewash Flats Jack Wolf written right there. And kind of the star of the show for this one, in my opinion, and it's in S90v Steel. We're going to test that out in just a moment. You do have a sharpening notch, and as you can see, it did start to kind of create a smile back there, and me and Ben Belkin of Jack Wolf talked about that, and he was going to bring it up a little bit to kind of try to get rid of that. However, I get what he's saying. He didn't want to go up any higher because you can see how skinny it is from here to here, and you run the risk of snapping that blade. So I get it. I think it's going to be okay. It will widen up back here, but, the way this is canted down, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. No jimping up top because it has a nice flat portion, and this is a slip joint. I don't think I've seen many slip joints with jimping. And you have that beautiful deep hollow grind on here. So this thing should be a slicing monster. Why don't we find out? The knife came very sharp out of box, and that thin hollow grind, man oh man, is slicing so well. And the way that big belly is kind of canted down a little bit, it acts as like a recurve, really trapping the material whenever you're pulling it through, pretty much doing the work for you. And man, oh man, I was so excited to see that they went with S90V. So let's see how this is performing. It should perform outstanding from any of the S90V I've tested in the past. Now we're going to test the ergos and see how well that edge is biting into the wood. And I'm going to tell you, this is not the knife I would grab for this type of stuff, especially not prolonged doing this, because it's pretty thin up there in the front and the scales, and it's a slip joint, so the scales are thinner overall. The width of them is kind of narrow, so you're really going to have to grip this knife tight to do this for a long period. It's going to fatigue your wrists, forearms, hands. But I will say, in a pinch, you could do this, and it's going to do a great job. The edge felt awesome. And once again, I could almost use it as like a recurve with that belly. Now we move over to the 1/2 inch twisted sisal rope. and I was surprised. A good bit of bite to that edge. That belly is perfect for this type of cutting. I'm doing mainly push cuts here. I'm just basically pushing down on it. Now that thin handle is once again a little bit more difficult to get a good grasp on in that pinch grip. But, you know, not many people sit there and cut a whole bunch of rope a lot of rope at one time. And if you do, you know, this might not be the knife for you, but it is performing outstanding. That S90V has a nice toothy edge to it. The edge bevel is a little bit skinnier than we've seen in the past at 22 degrees. So it's going to be easy to put that at 17 if I'd like. And yeah, that thin grind is just making short work of this. End up making 35 cuts before we run out of rope, and the edge still feels great. This thing is a precision beast, doing those drag cuts, that belly that sits down like that. You just drag it through just about whatever you're cutting. It felt really nice, pretty much every single thing I was cutting, even that tubing, no problem. But, you know, like I said previously, the thinner handle is going to make it a little bit more difficult. But I don't think too many people are taking their slip joints and cutting all this kind of material at the same time. If you are, you can get it done, no problem. You might want to have gloves on, just, you know, so you don't rub anything because of the skinnier handles wanting to shift. But it's gonna go through them without a problem. The edge still has good bite to it. You can see how fast it's going through this denim. And yeah, I really hope to see him use the S90V more and other steels. That would be great. K390 would be awesome. Yep. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed that cutting footage. Let's test out this edge. Now, to be fair, I did cut some more stuff after the testing because I was showing it to my neighbor and I had to show it off. And it still has an excellent edge. I expected that. Now, let's check out the walk and talk. I was showing it to my neighbor, and he was saying that it has a really good pull and snap to it. But nice and crisp half stop, of course, flush in all three positions, as you can see there. And I just love the way this one pops. Nice pop to that one. You can pinch it most of the time, but there's not as much right there. So I have used the nail nick on this one. Just listen to this. Nice. Good action on there with those phosphor bronze washers, making it even smoother. You have double end titanium bolsters with the flutes going down both sides. Nice and contoured. This stunning camo carbon right here. This is the 80s camo carbon. It has so much vibrant colors to it, especially this side. I love those lime greens and the oranges, and I'm not even a big carbon fiber fan. T10 on the pivot, T8 on the covers right here, on the cover screws. Beautifully executed, every handwork done to these. Everything's nice and flush, no high spots, no sharp spots where you don't want it to be. Just an overall stunning piece here. Just like all the Jack Wolfs, besides this one having the S90v Steel. The reason I say this one, I think, has a little bit more than some of my other ones, because I can put my thumb up there and I have to push pretty hard to get any pushing down any play there. And to me, that's kind of important, you know, because it is a slip joint. I don't want it to close on my finger. But, you know, most of the things you do with this knife, you're not going to have to worry about that anyway. The knife comes with a high quality leather slip right here. And I usually put it tip up because it usually holds it better. And there you go. I have another slip that I usually put my Jack Wolf knives in, so that's the only reason it's not in this one. All right, let's get a quick weight first in grams. 65.2 grams and 2.29 ounces, so we call that 2.3 ounces. Let's put the slip in there, 2.85. So yeah, you're not going to notice it's even in there. Now for some quick size comparisons, we have the Jack Wolf Vampire Jack and the Venom Jack. These two are a little bit longer in overall length. Next up, we have the Jack Wolf Midnight Jack and the Benchmade Proper. It's about the same length as these two. Lastly, we have the Victorinox Pioneer X and the Victorinox Cadet. It's more similar to the Pioneer X, but it is shorter. I mean, it is longer than both of these. All right, nitpicks and complaints. I think we've kind of touched on that right there, but you know, like I said, I get it. I know why he did that, and that's understandable there. And this has nothing to do with, it's not the knife's fault because that's just the design. But, you know, the thinner scales and stuff like that, and the thinner portion right here is just something that, you know, I wouldn't grab to do a lot of cutting, like a bunch. But, you know, most of the things that I use a slip joint for is to make a quick cut, break down a box or something like that. And it's perfectly A-okay for that. And it's going to really, really excel, especially with the S90v Steel. So I'm sure these will probably sell fast, and if you want one, just pull the trigger on it. I will leave links down in the description. If you want to pick up one of these, I'll have a link to his site if they're still available there. If not, I will have his authorized dealer list as well in the description. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I hope everybody's having an absolute amazing day. I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.